What's up, man?
You know, the lights are dimmed.
The lights are dim.
Just hanging out. Feels like a second, maybe third date.
I don't know, man.
All right. We'll wait till the fourth or fifth date. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens after this.
I don't know you like that.
I'm not that type of guy.
The mission of this journey is to help people that are considering a move to the real estate industry, have been doing this for a short period of time, or who simply want to know more about real estate and the behind the scenes ins and outs of the highs and sometimes lows of this industry. Welcome to Real Estate Simplified.
So I know last time we talked, we were kind of talking about, the topic of discussion was market cooling and the difference in a cooling market versus a crashing market. But what that means for buyers and sellers.
Right.
We kind of talked about interest rates a little bit. We kind of talked about just the market in general and
and
the
you know
difference.
what's interesting on the interest rates?
Yeah.
Is that, like I've seen a lot of builders are doing programs, right? To bring the interest rates down.
Yeah,
you got a story, right?
I got a story.
Yeah, right.
Everybody has stories, but I got a story where I've almost kind of been burned by a builder because when it was so red hot in the market, and they couldn't keep up building homes, so they had these really long wait lists, 6 month plus wait lists that you hope you can get into this neighborhood. I had a client that got under contract in Royce City. Now this is even Royce City, 45 minutes east of Dallas, Royce City, not Frisco or McKinney or Salina, where all these cities are starting to have this buildup of attraction and need for new homes.
Right.
So got these clients in under contract. Well, the sales rep sent the paperwork for me to sign and disclosures and hey, you represent the buyers, and there's the part about the commission, and it says 2%. And I looked back on the MLS, and it said 3%.
Right.
So I call the sales rep and just say, hey, just trying to get a good understanding of why you're wanting to screw. No, I'm just kidding. What's going on? Right. On the MLS, it showed this, and said, as of April 1st. I said, this is like an April Fool's thing. So I'm going to actually get the 3. No, this is real, like as of April 1st. And of course they send me the agreement April 2nd. After it's already in effect. So basically if I don't sign it, I hold up the deal. So I went ahead and signed it, and hey, I'm going to take 2% instead of 3%. And but to your point, within the last 2 months, builders are saying 4% and a buyer agent bonus of $3,000 or $5,000.
Right.
What? Just leave it at 3 and let's just be consistent.
Right. But so does that speak to, because everybody's like, the market's crashing. And we're not having anything happen. And
so again, I'll still stay with today, tomorrow, for probably a very long time, that there's not going to be a market crash, specifically in Texas as well as North Texas. There's a lot of indicating factors that that's just not going to happen, which is great for us.
And the factors are?
And the factors are that, one, we still are, agree to disagree, we still are in a seller's market.
100% though.
And the reason for that is we have to look at data. We can't just look at information that people are providing us that they don't. There's no grounds. There's no means to where they're getting their information from.
Right.
And what I mean by that.
National information.
But even this is it. The stock market's going down. We went from a bull market to a bear market, and we're now in a recession that actually is a recession. But we can't figure out what the definition of a recession is anymore.
Well, it depends on how it identifies.
Sure, yeah. That's a whole nother conversation. And a lot of definitions out there. It's very fluid. Recession is very fluid right now. Some days it is, some days it's not. I don't know. Some days I'm a cat. But whatever.
Anyway, right.
So, and to kind of add to that as far as the data points is we currently have about 60 to 90 days of inventory. That means homes that are available, homes that are on the market.
Right.
And what we had over the past 2 years was anywhere from 15 to 30 days, which is really scary.
Right.
And especially when you were thinking about supply chain issues and new builds versus resell single-family residential properties, it was within that 50 to 30, maybe 45 days. And now we're starting to get into closer to 3 months of inventory. But what truly is a healthy market is 6 months. So we're still
3
half.
months. Yeah.
We're still 3 months away
Right.
from having a healthy market. And I think one thing to also keep in mind is a lot of buyers, and I think we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, a lot of buyers, they were searching for homes, fighting for homes, in a sense, when the interest rates were substantially lower.
Right.
And they were also in a market where other people were still very much being able to afford homes in the same price point that they were looking at. So if a home didn't go under contract after the first weekend,
Right.
there had to be something wrong with the home. There had to be some foundation issues, or the roof needs to be replaced and it's
Right.
leaking, and the seller's refusing to replace it because they took the money from the insurance company
and went on vacation.
and went to Disney World.
Right. Right.
So there's this perception, there's a stigma about homes, especially for not only first-time home buyers, but people that have just really experienced this most recent market the last 2 years compared to the last 2 months. I had one buyer that they wanted to lowball a seller by a substantial amount of money, by like 50 grand. And nice neighborhood in Frisco, and they wanted to lowball them. And I said, "What? Help me understand your strategy. Help me understand where you're coming from, because I pulled comps, and comps are coming out almost dead on the list price. So I feel great about that. And from an appraisal standpoint, it's going to appraise. The home is going to be worth what you're paying for it. It's going to appreciate over time, and this is where y'all want to be. This is where your family's at. So why are y'all wanting to lowball them or kind of put the pressure on them? Well, it's been on the market for 13 days. So, okay, I'm going to say it differently, and I'm going to say it's only been on the market 13 days.
Right.
That's not a long time.
Right.
And especially for anybody that's been on the real estate side of, the realtor side of real estate, but also the buying side or selling side, when it wasn't 2019 and beyond, when interest rates were starting to get super low and there were just a lot of extenuating circumstances that were happening, it would be very normal for a home to be on the market for 30 plus days.
Oh, no question.
Very normal.
No question.
If not 45, 50 days, and it would still sell for around list price.
Right.
And you wouldn't see price reductions a week after it's been on the market.
Right.
Or, offers, all of the offers being $20,000+ over list price.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
It might be unheard of for as long as we're still in it.
Yeah, right.
Maybe the next 2 or 3 generations of realtors might see something like that.
Yeah.
But it's been different for these buyers and also sellers to have that shift. It's like, well, again, this isn't a housing crash. This isn't a market crash when it comes to housing specifically. It's going back to where it should be.
Right.
And I just had one go under contract 2 days ago in Frisco, and we ended up taking 10 below list, but we didn't do a price reduction. However, the seller was feeling very anxious, and they thought, well, if we don't get, something's got to be wrong with our house. This makes no sense. Is it not priced right? What's going on with these buyers? And I would say, hey, I'm reaching out to all the realtors that show the property. They say they love the home. but it's their first week looking.
Right.
Not only first day, but first week.
Right. Right. And
I share that information with my client, and I say, hey, just full disclosure, this is what they're saying. Like, I'm not making this stuff up.
Right.
And they're pretty upset.
Right.
You love the home, put in an offer. You were at our house for an hour doing the showing, put in an offer. Well,
Right.
That's just not the market we're in anymore.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with your home.
Right.
The price is right.
And I think that's something that people got to get their head around, both buyers and sellers, that because the interest rates have changed,
Yeah.
and we're in a recession, really. People are just taking a breath.
Yeah.
You know,
They're pausing a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still gonna go look at houses. They're still gonna be getting pre-qualified.
they're still going to buy.
They're still gonna buy.
They're still going to buy. But
Yep.
now, instead of like, hey, I just got to go like this and get what I can get,
Yeah.
they're being a little more choosy because they can afford to be.
Which is the way it used to be.
Right. But the interesting thing is, it's not the same market as if it was in a balanced market.
Correct.
Where in a
There would be a lot more homes for them to choose from.
right, a lot more homes for them, and the negotiation would be different because the sellers
Completely.
would have to come off of more.
Yeah, completely. Well, and the one that I just got under contract, even though it went 10 below list, the buyer still covered the title policy transfer. Buyer still covered a new survey if they needed it.
If they needed it, right,
Which
right.
they don't, but still, that's an
But
extra
still,
$500. The title policy transfer that the buyer's going to pay for, $2,500, $3,000. I mean, the seller, it's still a seller's contract.
Right, right.
So
Right. They're
there's
getting
still
all
a
of the
lot of
advantage.
things that could be completely, it could be a home that's listed for $500,000, but seller's paying for $10,000 over, whatever it might have been back in the day,
Yeah.
before this huge shift of a seller's
So
market.
has happened. Yeah. Hold
Yeah.
on. I just need to make sure that I need to put that right there.
It's hidden. It's
Yeah,
hidden.
it's
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's the whole thing, is like making sure people have realistic expectations. And it's like really managing the expectations, because it's like, oh, it's crashing, I'm losing my value. No. The property values are still increasing.
Yep.
At historical rates. I mean,
Well, in that home that I got under contract in Frisco, it's in the trails. It's a nice neighborhood, but it's still gonna sell for $260 a square foot,
wow.
which is that's substantial.
That's nice. That's nice.
It's not
Especially
185 to 225.
Yeah, and they probably bought it for, one.
It was like 225.
225.
Yeah,
So what?
and gonna sell it close to 5.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
4 years later.
4 years. Wow.
4 years later.
Wow.
So-
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, well, I'm going to wait. I want to wait, see what the market
Sure.
does. Right?
You can do that.
And what's
You're gonna be priced out, but
Right.
you can do that.
But why would you say that we'd be priced out?
Because home values aren't going down. So a $500,000 home that you want to buy today, but you say, you know what, I'm going to wait until the market crashes. A year later, it'll be $550,000. I mean, we've talked about that
Right,
multiple
right.
times, but I mean, it's just,
I don't think we can talk about it enough, though.
well, yeah, because
'cause-
it is an important conversation to have, especially when we continue to have conversations with new clients, potential buyers, that they've gone through the pre-qualification and they know what they can afford, or what their monthly budget allows them to afford, and they say, my aunt or my uncle in California told me that they had to do price reductions on their home twice now because they're trying to sell. Or my aunt and uncle in Illinois, they've had to do price reductions twice now because they're trying to sell, and they're not even getting showings.
Right. And it's like, yeah, but they're
So
not here.
I heard California and I heard Illinois. I didn't hear Texas.
Right. Right.
Now, again, you might be waiting for 2 weeks to get the offer that you feel like you deserve, or the offer that's close enough to the value of the home, the appraisal of the home, what it's actually worth. But 2 weeks,
Yeah, 2 weeks is nothing. 2 weeks is not. I mean, we're getting a little.
you're just going to sleep 14 times.
Right. Right.
That's not that many. That's not that many days.
Right.
That's really not that
Especially
many
for the price
days.
point that you're talking about. You know, so
It's just this market that we're coming out of, and we've talked about this before too. But it's really changed people's perceptions of what real estate is. It really has. These last 2 years has just completely changed the mindset of the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
Because I have sellers that are like, man, we've got it listed for 500. I would take 450 if we don't have to show it again.
Oh,
if
wow.
I don't have to keep my home clean. You're going to lose 50 grand because you don't want to...
Convenience fee.
It's convenience.
It's convenience.
It's convenience,
I don't feel
right?
like
I don't want to
dancing.
board the dogs, or I don't want to clean up the poopy diaper.
Yeah. I don't want to have to go out.
Yeah, I don't want to have to go work from a coffee shop because I work from home.
Right.
And, the same side of it on the buyer of, well, we don't want to offer list price because it's been on the market for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I had a client do that, and we submitted 4 or 5 different offers, slowly going up every time. And I would show them CMA, I would show them the comps, and the home's worth this, the home's worth this, the home's worth the list price.
And they were like, no, we're going to...
They're like, well, it just doesn't make sense that they wouldn't even counter. I'm like, it does,
It's like,
because their
you
listing
insulted
agent,
them.
with 50 below on the first one. But we got to list price, and they accepted it. But it appraised for $10,000 over list price. So they made
10 grand.
10 grand. Closing's tomorrow. They're going to make 10 grand just by signing the papers.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because a lot of times, like you were saying, they don't want to board the dog or do whatever. I think a lot of times what goes into seller's mind in making price is their life condition. Like,
Sure.
I have a situation, there's a property that I was showing, and all of the other townhouses in the area were going for 490, 480, 490. They're ready to let this one go. It's the largest one in the community for 449.
Wow.
But I think it was because a little relationship drama, things didn't quite
just
work
wanna get out.
It's a bad memory.
Yeah.
And they don't want to keep walking in and paying for this bad memory. So you could make 30 grand
Right.
by picking it up. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's like finding those things and understanding those things. And it's like, it's not a one size fits all or one situation fits all.
Yeah.
It's like being able to take it case by case and understanding that, and then being able to jump on it and not thinking, oh, well, we can really push them now. Because it's like, yeah, you can push me a little bit, but I'm not stupid.
Right. Well, and we got to list price. They accepted it, did the inspection. And I was telling them this the whole time. I said, look, if we lowball them and for some reason they accept it, any amount below list price, they're going to have zero. They're not going to have any motivation to help you with repairs if we request them.
Right.
Because they already feel like
Right.
you lowballed them.
Yeah, you already came down on the price.
Correct.
You already got this. I'm not giving you anything else.
Yeah. So, but we got it accepted, executed at list, did the inspection, found out that the roof needed to be replaced. So, did a claim. Insurance company said, yep, roof's going to be replaced. So, they got a brand new roof. And we also got $5,000 cash in lieu of other repairs because the fence needed to be, it was falling down in some areas, and there were some windows that were cracked, like very minor stuff. But, just putting this list together and knowing that we executed the contract at list price, the seller was more willing and more motivated to help out the buyer.
Right.
Instead of, well, if we came in 10 below and for some reason they accepted it, their willingness to help out with repairs is almost zero.
That's gone.
Right.
That's gone.
The idea of a cooling market versus a crashing market, we're just simply still not seeing that. And you know what just happened the last couple of days? Mortgage rates are starting to go down a little bit.
Right.
I mean, you can, even without paying any points down, which is a whole nother topic.
Right.
But if you just straight up want to get pre-qualified, you can get in there 5.5.
Right. And they were up to 5.
FHA, you can get below 5.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, you can get FHA for like 4.825, something like that.
And you go to an ARM, then you're looking at you're in your 3s.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
So those are, when we talk about fluid, those are very fluid.
Right.
Those aren't definite.
Right.
So just because it was 5.5 or 6% last week doesn't mean sky's falling, market's crashing, inflation is ruining every part of our life. It's ruining some parts of our life, especially when you drive an F-150. But those are decisions that we each make individually.
Hey, look, I just drove from Florida to Texas and saw the prices, and we got good gas prices.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah.
Texas has a little bit more control over that.
Yeah, I mean, well, we got refineries, I think. That's
right,
why.
exactly.
But it's like seeing some places, I was like, I'm not paying $4.10.
Yeah, I was in Idaho 2 or 3 weekends ago, and it was like $4.50 for unleaded.
Wow.
So.
Wow, $4.50.
Yeah. So I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
I'm glad my friends are driving me around. I'm not
right.
paying for gas.
Yeah, so the F-150 gets what, 3 gallons to the mile?
No. it's like 16.5. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be worse.
It's like driving in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm just thinking about the good old days. I'm just trying to live. I'm trying to live out the good old days.
I understand.
So,
I understand. No.
But yeah, I mean it's cooling. It's not red hot or white hot like it was.
Right.
But we've still got a long ways to go for anybody to really define this market as a buyer's market, where you say, oh, list price is 500, we're going to start at 425.
Right.
We're very far from that.
Right.
But interest rates are starting to go
425.
down a little bit, right? You're not getting into this situation, and I think it is a great time to buy, honestly. And one of the reasons is you're not having as many people that are excited. You don't have as many people that are pumped up about going to buy homes because they might be first-time home buyers, and they got pre-qualified a year ago for under 3%. And now they're saying, wait, I've got the same credit score or maybe even better, and I now have to get an interest rate of 5.5%? That's unheard of. I've never heard of that.
Right.
It's like, yeah, because you've never bought a home. The national average for the past 50 years is 8%. So again, we have to think about data. We can't just we can't make decisions based off of emotion or what happened in the last 12, 24 months.
Right.
You have to look at data.
Yeah.
And the fact is, these are still very healthy interest rates, very low interest rates.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
by definition.
Yeah, it was artificially depressed, artificially kept down.
Yep.
And so now, you can't just say, well, it wasn't like that, it's going to go back to that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll go back to that if we have another round of like COVID or if like monkeypox goes to. I mean, I think it is.
It's a great time to buy.
And I think what's going to happen is the housing prices are going to plateau. And then when the economy picks up,
they're going to keep going up.
They're going to keep going up.
Yep.
So you're going to get a value.
And they're going to plateau in the sense of they're going to go up 2 to 5% year over year, versus 5 to 10 to 20% year over year. What we saw again the last 2 years.
But let's split the difference. Let's say it goes up 3% over the next 5 years. That's 15%.
Yeah.
Increase in 5 years.
Well, call it $100,000 home, right? So if it goes up 3%, so 103, and then 3%, that's going to be like 107. I mean, you're going to have like a $112,000 home 3 years later,
right?
And maybe you haven't tried to look, but you got the same salary,
right,
as you did 3 years ago. Well, now you can't afford that $112,000 home because you didn't buy it when it was a $100,000 home.
Right.
Right. So that's another reason that it's a great time to buy if maybe your salary has gone up,
Right.
or your credit score has gone up,
Right.
your debt has gone down.
So would you say that, would you say that now is a great time to work on your credit score, work on positioning yourself to be in a place?
I mean, it's always a great time to work on your credit score. Your debts, you should never feel like your debts are higher than what they need to be, what they should be. Now, I will say, usually the only time that it's really important for your debts to be low or you're working on your credit score is when you're trying to buy a home.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's usually the only time that you're really thinking
Right.
about, oh, I'm using 50% of my credit.
Right.
I need to get that down to 5% or no more than 10%.
Right.
You really don't think about that
Right. Get your
in
credit,
your day-to-day.
Yeah, get your credit usage under 30%. Good. But it's over 30%, well, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's big, right? Because if for whatever reason you do lose your job, or you're going through a transition, or you get a new job and it
Right.
has a lower base salary, but you're higher commissioned, or your spouse wants to be a stay-at-home parent, or they want to go back to school, right? And your credit usage is high, you're kind of full throttle in that thing.
Right.
It's going to hurt you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's always a good time to work on the credit. But again, going back to if it's a really good time to buy, if you've positioned yourself well in the last 2 to 5 years and you've got some money saved up and you still can qualify for the same amount, and that's what I was going to say is we had an offer on that home in Frisco that I had listed, but the highest they could go was 435.
Oh, wow.
Same credit
What
score.
was the list?
485. But when they were originally pre-qualified 6 months ago, they were pre-qualified for 500,000 because the interest rates were lower.
And they lost 65,000.
They lost 65,000 solely because of the interest rate hike. So they might have been locked at 2.5 or 2.9, and now they're locked at, let's call it 6. Just that alone priced them out of the market.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot of those buyers going away right now because the interest rates are a little bit higher. Not high, but a little bit higher.
Right.
Because there is a difference.
Right.
They are a little bit higher, but they are not high.
Right.
But for some people that maybe they're making household income 100,000, that's great. They could afford a $400,000 home at 100,000 when the rates were below 3. They can no longer afford a $400,000 home when the rates are 6.
Right.
It's just math.
Right.
Again, it's going back to data.
Right.
Math
So-
is saying you cannot afford this home.
Yeah, so the important thing is to strike when the opportunity presents
100%. Yeah. And so I think you are seeing, because again, you asked, well, what are the reasons that it's a good time to buy? One is you are having some buyer burnout. You are having, in addition to that, you are having some buyers that are being priced out because the interest rates are going up. But you kind of have to look at, it's almost like if this one's heavier, then this one's lighter. And it's kind of shifting. There's a few things that are in play here. And one is, okay, if interest rates are a little bit higher, but if I'm not having to spend $50,000 more out of pocket to get that same home, I can afford the house, and vice versa, right? But when interest rates were a lot lower, I got to spend $50,000 cash out of pocket just to get the home.
Just to get.
Even though the home isn't worth that.
Right.
Right? So you're seeing that shift where you might have had people that were getting in the homes because they saved up a lot of money. Maybe they saved up 10, 20, 30, 40 grand. And you know what they were probably going to actually use it for? Was renovations. But instead, they're so desperate to get into a home, but they've got this lower interest rate where they say, you know what? With this lower interest rate, we can afford the home and we'll just spend that extra 20 grand that we had in savings for renovations on going over the list price in order to get it. Now you're seeing that shift where, okay, interest rates are going up, and there's a lot of people out there that they actually can't afford the home.
Right. Right.
But the ones that still can, they're getting it at list price.
Right.
So there's I think a healthy shift
They're getting
going
it at
on.
list price. They're not getting it for a whole
No.
significant amount more. That's important.
It's great.
It's real important.
I mean, it's great. I mean, you're literally spending what the home is worth, rather than I've got to do a full waiver of the lender's appraisal
'Cause it's
and
not
going
gonna come
50,000
anywhere.
over
Right.
list price.
Right.
But that was also what was driving. You know, when you think about equity and home values increasing, well, you know, this past year alone it increased 25%. Well, yeah, because interest rates were so stinking low,
Yeah.
and nobody could go on their vacations.
Right.
So they've got 20
Right.
grand saved
Right.
up, and they're like, well, I guess we'll use it on this home,
Right.
when it's not even valued at that price.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of other factors that people aren't
Paying attention.
paying attention to or wanting to consider. They're just saying, oh, there's a recession, market's crashing,
Sky's falling.
the end is near.
Right. Right. Right.
Let's just rent another year.
Right. Yeah, and it's like
How much did your rent go up? $300 a month. Like, oh, okay, that's okay, cool.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So I guess, I mean, long story short, it's definitely not crashing. It's
Yeah.
cooling. But
definitely.
we have conversations with other realtors every single day, where we get kind of the Monday updates with our group. It's like, yeah, I've got a closing this week. I've got 3 listing appointments. I'm showing buyers houses. Realtors are still
Doing the business.
doing the business. People are still buying. People are still selling. And honestly, right now, more people are selling.
Yeah.
Because just like we mentioned at the beginning, it's now 3 months of inventory rather than a month
A month.
of inventory.